Welcome to this week's edition of Flashback Friday, your opportunity to get some good review by listening to episodes from the past that Jason has handpicked to help you today in the present and propel you into the future. Enjoy.
This show is produced by the Hartman Media Company. For more information and links to all our great podcasts, visit hartmanmedia.com.
Speakers, publishers, consultants, coaches, and info marketers unite. The Speaking of Wealth Show is your roadmap to success and significance. Learn the latest tools, technologies, and tactics to get more bookings, sell more products, and attract more clients. If you're looking to increase your direct response sales, create a big-time personal brand, and become the go-to guru, the Speaking of Wealth Show is for you. Here's your host, Jason Hartman.
It's my pleasure to welcome Jenny Taw to the show. She is CEO of Sqeeqee, as in Squeaky Clean, and we're going to talk today about monetizing the social aspects online, social net worthing. Jenny, welcome. How are you?
Well, thank you for having me on today. I'm fine.
Giving our listeners a sense of geography, you're from my hometown. You're from Orange County, California, so you're actually located in Irvine, right?
That is correct.
Excellent. Well, what is social net worthing as opposed to social networking? This is net worthing.
Well, many of our users who are young, when they visited the site, they gave us a new terminology, which they call it Sqeeqee, is the Facebook on steroids. So I find that pretty interesting, but that's what they're saying. But what social net worthing is our platform is like a Swiss knife of social networking sites. So for everything that you do, I'm sure your audience probably have a Facebook, a Twitter, a YouTube profile, a Amazon, an eBay. Even probably some of your listeners have a Kickstarter profile, an Indiegogo to crowdfunding. As all of these platforms that I'm mentioning, you can see already that's at least a dozen logins, a dozen profiles that your listeners or the users would have to visit to do each of those functions, meaning that if a user wants to upload a video, the first obvious thing is let's go to YouTube. If a user wants to crowdfunding a project, the first thing the user is going to say is, oh, let's go to Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Or if a user wants to see what his or her friends are hanging out this Friday at which Starbucks, the first thing is, oh, let's check my Facebook. So as you can see, these are social networking platforms where each of those platforms entity, they only do one function, okay? I founded Sqeeqee.com. It pronounced like the word squeaky clean, but we spell it differently, Sqeeqee.com. I've taken all of such features that I've mentioned and actually a lot more. The Facebook feature, the YouTube, the eBay, Amazon for a marketplace, and we built it under one platform. So a user goes into Sqeeqee.com. It's also free, a registration similar to Facebook. If you just want to chat with friends, you can do that. If you wanted to post items to sell in our marketplace, that too, you could do that. So everything you do under Sqeeqee, we call it social net worthing. Social net worthing is an evolution of social networking because time is money. Money is time. No one wants to spend time when they don't make any money. So social net worthing is that solution where every click that a user does, every photos, every video that's being uploaded, the user gets paid by the time spent on the platform. That's in addition to users can certainly buy and sell stuff, crowdfunding, give money to charity, because all of those features are under one platform, which is the Sqeeqee platform.
So are you basically taking a percentage then of all of those transactions and then sharing some of those in micropayments with the users that are doing various activities? Is that how it works?
Yes, we actually do a lot more than that. For example, Jason, if you were to have a Sqeeqee profile, setting things up is free. You can go in and you could start adding buddies. You know, Twitter, they call it followers and who's following me and I'm following who. Facebook, they took the terms friends or likes. on Sqeeqee, we're using the terms buddies. So you can come on and you can get a lot of buddies to be friend with, because who can net worth without anyone? You have to net worth with people, with a group, with a social group. So we recommend those who on Sqeeqee to have a lot of buddies, because just like when you're going to a networking event, a social event, you shake hands, you share your business cards, because you want to net worth. You wanted to benefit from that meeting or that event that you're going to. So Sqeeqee is that event, but it's online. So again, going back to your question, is we have many different methods for a user to make money. If you don't want to sell anything, if you don't have any new things to sell, used things to sell, then basically when you go on, you add buddies, you make a comment, you add a photo, you add a video, you add a link, about, let's just say the last 2 days, the Baltimore situation, it's going crazy. And so you go to your wall and you add all these new news links on your wall, and you will see that on the upper right of your profile is literally your bank, BANK, your bank. So you will see that number continues to go up. Every single profile that a user open up for free, just like you can open 2 or 3 Facebook, 2 or 3 Twitter, they don't give you anything. But on Sqeeqee, when you open a free Sqeeqee profile, you have 10,000 Sqeeqee bucks. We call them Sqeeqee bucks. 10,000 Sqeeqee bucks is equivalent to $1 US. So we already giving out $1 US to every single profile that's being open. So certainly when there are bloggers and there are people saying, well, Jenny, that's great. I'm going to be so wealthy getting $1 from you. Well, yeah, but then here's the take. 1 is bigger than 0. You can open 1,000 Facebook profiles all day long. You don't have $1,000 or even $1 or even 1 penny for all that matters. But at least with Sqeeqee, you get 10,000 Sqeeqee bucks, which is $1, okay? 1 is more than 0. So that's the starting point. So you can start with $1, and then you add buddies. And Sqeeqee already has tens of thousands of users, and we barely launched January of this year. You can connect with buddies on Sqeeqee. You can invite your friends or your followers from other network over, and just by simply, again, adding pictures, video, making a comment, responding to someone's comment, or so, all of that click. Look at your bank. It keeps on going up, and up.
But
and
I mean,
up.
how much money does this really amount to? Like, give us some examples. I can't imagine there's much money in doing this, but it's better than no money. Admittedly, I agree.
Absolutely. But again, there are different levels. The very basic is what I've just explained. If you do that, if you do the maximum number of tasks per day, you could probably make anywhere between 500 to 700 Sqeeqee bucks.
In how much time?
In a day.
In a day?
In one day.
Wow.
Yeah, in a day. Yeah, because again...
But how much time would they have to spend on the site in order to do that?
Well, it goes back to a question. You probably read many articles that people would spend 5, 6, 7 hours a day on Facebook. Or let's just say on the average, they spend 3 hours a day on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they make jack, right? Excuse the French, but they don't make anything. So if you were to spend 3 hours a day on Sqeeqee, you probably make, 3, 4, 500 Sqeeqee bucks. Again, probably within a week, you'd be making 3,000 or 4,000 Sqeeqee bucks. So probably within like a month, yes, that's some bloggers, they say, yeah, Jenny, yay, whoa, a month I get to make $1. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be like really wealthy. But then here's the thing, that's just the basic, okay? The other things that we offer our users that no other platforms do not have are the other things that users can do, meaning that if you have a store, if you have used or new things to sell, let's just say, Jason, you bought a pair of Nikes a month ago, and it happens to be the wrong size. You're looking for your receipt, and you can't find it anymore, so you can't really return it. So what you do, yes, you could go on Craigslist, the normal site. There's eBay and Amazon, sure. But go ahead and list that Nike on eBay or Amazon, good luck of getting your shoes sell, because both Amazon...
Got that. That's hard. But what do you
Okay.
do? What's your solution?
Well, on Sqeeqee, when you open a profile, we give you a free embedded shop. So when you add that pair of Nike to your profile, again, you need to visit it to see, your sneaker, your Nike, goes into Sqeeqee's marketplace. Okay? In there, we have trending items that's being listed today. And so it's more compact, and people can ask you questions right away.
All right.
They don't have to send you an email. So that's one of them where, a number of our users, like we have a number of author, they post their books on our site and they're sold.
I don't want to
That's
get too.
another
I
way.
don't want to get too granular into this. I kind of want to just take the broad overview because it's too confusing to people to follow everything. How many users do you have now? Tell us about your growth. When did you launch, and what do you have now?
We launched January of this year, middle of January of this year. We have tens of thousands of users now, and we're working towards hundreds of thousands now. We are in the media. Anybody can Google Sqeeqee, and you can see the number of articles we have out there from the media. We're in Forbes, we're in Inc., Fast Company, even some of the local papers and stuff like that.
And your revenue model is a percentage of fees for all the exchanges, right? Is that the revenue model?
Yes and no. We still taking on the traditional models of other social media platform, which is through advertising.
Okay. All right.
And even other models, they don't share their advertising revenue with their users. We do. We share anywhere between 30 to 50%. That's another level, which I know we don't have time to go into that, but that's another source of revenue that our users also can share that other platforms.
So how do you think
have.
of the idea? How do you come up with this? It's an interesting idea.
I am, by day, an entrepreneur all my life. I've launched 2 investment banking firms, and I was a self-made millionaire when I was just 27. I'm in my early 40s now because I've launched and I've sold 2 companies already. I've been on Wall Street for 18 years, and I started when I was 18 or 20, so you can sort of guess my age. And I've been in technology all my life when I was on Wall Street. So the merge from the financial Wall Street field into technology was nothing difficult. You've asked me, how did I get this idea? It's kind of like simple in a sense that entrepreneurs like myself, we are out there to find a solution to problems. Back in 2010, when the craze of Facebook and the LinkedIn and the Twitter, everybody was talking about it. That's when I start, visiting these sites, and that's when I clearly saw a problem. And that problem, which I've shared with you about 10 minutes ago, everybody has to have 10 to 20 different logins, 10 to 20 different passwords.
That's a giant
and
hassle.
At the end of the day, right, they don't make any money from it. So I took the term social networking and I merged it with the terms net worth, which of course we use a lot on Wall Street, is to build your net worth. And I trademarked it, and it's social net worthing, which I believe, and it will be, the evolution of what social networking should be, because people are getting smarter and people are not going to spend their time for free anymore.
So Jenny, give us your website.
It is Sqeeqee.com, and it is SQeeqee.com.
And Jenny, before you go, I just wanted to ask you, because of your experience in the tech world and investment banking and so forth, what are your thoughts about, are we in another tech bubble? It's beginning to feel like 15 years ago all over again. or no? Is there no bubble this time?
No. Actually, again, with a bit of sharing of my background earlier, I was on Wall Street for 18 years. But, I believe we are shortchanging ourselves by being so paranoid, okay? Financial guru Warren Buffett, he sees weakness in the current economy. I see the same thing. But recently, Buffett interviewed with CNN Money, and he did say that while there is a slowdown in home building, but the economy is continuing to upward trend, which began in the fall of 2009. My personal belief is that there are major differences between the current tech startup climate and the dot-com bubble of 2000. One of such is that tech company valuations tended to be more wishful thinking back in the 2000s. Today's valuations, though sometimes, like your perspective, may seem to be high, but they are less overblown, and perhaps more importantly, they are more realistically grounded because of revenues, cash flows, and price-to-earn ratios, which we do not have back in the year 2000 with all of those .com.
I will agree with your comparison, actually, quite a bit. I agree with your comparison there, and that's a good one. My only question is, that doesn't mean that we're not in another bubble, though, because just because we're better off than we were then, which is definitely true in terms of sensibility, and we don't have like infinite PE ratios as we did back then, and it was just ludicrous, right? You know, sock puppets, et cetera, et cetera. But still arguable that we have a climate now where the PE ratios are way too high and these companies are just overvalued, no?
No, well, here's another way that I would measure in terms of a tech bubble or not. Back in the 2000s, tech startups went public, IPO, far more quickly than they do today. At that time, from a launch to the IPO, timing average was less than 4 years. In today's typical time to IPO has been more than double. You look at Facebook, you look at Twitter, you look at LinkedIn, all of these, they went public around 7 to 8 to even 9 years. So there are different measurements in today when comparing to the tech bubble of 2000. And again, I will repeat that if we keep shortchanging ourselves, we're going to miss the train. And and we shouldn't be living in a paranoid situation. Obviously, it's not easy. I would say that to predict, the bull or the bears. But again, with all of these, and I have a few more points as well, that if we sit down, we analyze it clearly, we can see the total difference between the year 2000 and now. And
right, but again, I'm sorry, I'm kind of sorry I framed the question that way, because that doesn't mean that there's not a bubble now, though.
No,
those are separate issues, okay?
Yes, I mean, certainly.
I agree with your comparison from 15 years ago, but I don't necessarily agree with the thoughts that we're not overvalued now. I do think we are in many cases.
Well, certainly if you were to cherry pick certain companies, obviously there are certain companies that are overvalued, and that's the great thing about being an investor and investing in stocks or even housing, is you can certainly cherry pick certain stocks. And of course, I wouldn't dive into companies like, for example, right now, last week, Facebook, the social media sector, they came out with explosive earnings. Okay, and that seems to be a horse that's just not going to stop running at all.
Facebook has done a tremendous job with their advertising program. I mean, they really have. That's
right.
amazing.
And so if you look at that, and which it goes back to your question to me about Sqeeqee earlier, is how do we make revenue? And we're still following the tradition method, which is advertising. And because if you look at the data, advertising is going to grow into the trillion-dollar industry, and then it's going to go into double and triple, because in the world, accept it or not, internet is going to continue to grow. Google,
well, we got a couple billion people that are going to be online soon. A couple billion more people, so that's good. Jenny, so I got to wrap up, so you got to give your final thought here. I got to go. Just a final thought to wrap that up, if you would.
Well, I mean, basically, again, with the market, okay, I believe cherry pick and social media, the technology sector, is going to continue to grow. I don't believe there's a bubble there. And in terms of the social networking industry, time is money, time is valuable. Change your method in terms of when you put out some time, make sure you get paid for it.
Good stuff. Jenny Ta, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me on today.
This show is produced by the Hartman Media Company, all rights reserved. For distribution or publication rights and media interviews, please visit www.hartmanmedia.com or email media@hartmanmedia.com. Nothing on this show should be considered specific personal or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own, and the host is acting on behalf of Platinum Properties Investor Network, Inc. exclusively.